Ah, Bardock. For a character who ultimately was so minor in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of funny how popular he became. This TV special was so well liked, even by Akira Toriyama himself, that he had the character appear briefly in the manga for 2 panels. Of course, Bardock's tale and the origin of Son Goku have since been altered with Dragon Ball Minus, but with the upcoming Dragon Ball Super Broly movie coming out soon, and being in Japanese theaters by the time this review comes out, I thought it'd be a good time to look back and see if this special is really as special as people claim. Our story begins with someone stepping on a cat's tail. Ah, wait, it's just an infant Goku, or as he's currently known as, Kakarotto, crying his eyes out. Nobody tell Broly. Seriously, I love Masaku Nozawa, but this part really sounds weird. Kakarotto has just been born and is just kinda there in this plot. I get that it's basically his origin story, but don't expect much from him here. Shortly after, we cut to giant monkeys blowing up fish people. That's a sentence I just said! We have Bardock and his team of savage Saiyajin in their Ozaru state slaughtering the people of Kanasa, a race with some kind of precognition. And like most precognitive psychic powers in fiction, it's more useless than a BB gun against a Harrier. Afterwards, the group sits around in their friendship circle, swapping war stories, with them joking about Bardock celebrating his son's birth with how he blew everything up the night before. Bardock immediately expresses dissatisfaction, stating how his son is a good-for-nothing with an insignificant power level when his friends tell him he should go visit his newborn son. And it's here I've got to briefly touch upon something. You will find me giving the English dub of this TV special exactly 2 pieces of praise. The first is Bardock's voice. While I can't stand Sonny Strait as Krillin, he's legitimately well cast as Bardock. Unfortunately, his dialogue is painfully awful in this dub, but that's not really his fault. The other piece of praise is that while the Japanese version never even addresses Raditz, Goku's older brother, the dub actually did. Instead of Bardock being unimpressed by his son's low ranking, he talks about how his son was born a long time ago, before his teammates chide in about how he just had a son born the day before. And that's honestly the only good part about this dub, because holy shit, everything else is all kinds of wrong. Starting with just Bardock's team, they couldn't even get the names remotely correct. As is well known, the people of the Saiyajin race are all given names that are essentially puns based off of vegetables, with Saya being a rearrangement of the word yasai, which translates directly into English as vegetable. Toma, Saripa, Totepo, and Pambukin are very obviously named after tomato, parsley, potato, and pumpkin respectively. For no reason whatsoever, the dub gives them the inexplicable and obviously non-vegetable names of Tora, Fasha, Bargos, and Shugesh. Other characters are also given names that didn't previously have them, and the entire damn plot is so heavily rewritten that it's not even funny. It also has some of the most ear-splittingly awful music the Funimation dub ever produced, which is kinda an accomplishment itself. Anyway, back at the plot, a surviving Kanasan pops out of the rubble, catching them off guard. He smacks Bardock in the back of the neck and proclaims that Bardock now has the same psychic power he has. And then he explodes. Bardock then passes out and the scene ends. We shift to a young Vegeta.
Wait, my son, the planet or me?
As he's training with some strength-enhanced Saibai-men, whom he quickly dispatches, while a not-bald Nappa watches in amusement. Also, Vegeta here, despite being a little boy, still sounds very much like an adult Ryo Horikawa. I think Horikawa is trying to sound younger, but it's just a little funny to imagine Vegeta having basically the same voice from childhood to adulthood. Also, I have to just gripe here at that stupid-looking hair. In all fairness, Toriyama hadn't yet stated that a Saiyajin's hair never really changes from birth, but still, he doesn't even have his trademark widow's peak. I don't think hairlines really work that way no matter how old you get. Nappa immediately begins praising the prince, but Vegeta isn't having any of that ass-kissing, and he proceeds to complain that he can't get any stronger while waiting in this safe environment, expressing that he wishes to ask Frieza for the chance to conquer another planet. Yeah, another planet! He might be a little boy at this point, but he's already an accomplished warrior. That's a scary kid. There's a brief discussion between Zarbon and Dodoria near Frieza, where Zarbon expresses fear of what the Saiyajin could do if they united, which amuses the Emperor. Vegeta walks in to thank Frieza for giving him a mission, but is quickly shooed out. Back at the main plot, Bardock is taking a nap in a rejuvenation pod, where the medics from earlier in the special are talking about him constantly coming back half-dead, and how his power must be in the range of 10,000 by this point. Ah, those arbitrary numbers that were mercifully dropped, for the most part, after the Frieza arc. His squad has a mission to clear out the planet Meat, but he's going to have to sit this one out, since he's still under the effect of that psychic neck jab from earlier. Baby Kakarotto starts crying, because that's basically all he does in this, and this triggers Bardock having visions of the future. In his visions, Planet Vegeta is wiped out and he bears witness to various sequences from early Dragon Ball up through to his son's fight with Piccolo before waking up. He admits to being a bit dizzy and having strange dreams, and wonders what they're about, even though he was outright told he had psychic visions by Fishboy. When told his team went off to Planet Meat, he expresses annoyance and heads off, only to be distracted by his son's crying. 'Cause again, Goku does a whole lot of that here. He freaks out at a vision again, checks his kid's lack of power, calls him scum, and runs off. Father of the Year! Meanwhile, Bardock's team is getting annihilated by some of Frieza's elites, despite that not really being set up. Sure, Zarbon showed concern, but Frieza himself didn't seem worried, and Dodoria showed very little concern about the matter. Yet, here's Dodoria and his cronies yucking it up as Bardock's friends are bleeding all over everything. When asked, Dodoria does say that this was specifically ordered by Frieza, but when? I mean, when did Frieza actually order this? It was never even implied. Bardock arrives and finds the locals wiped out and goes to investigate a signal, only to learn his team has been slaughtered. Finding Toma as the only survivor, he quickly tries to find out what happened. Toma tells him that they've been betrayed by Frieza and that he intends on committing a genocide of the entire Saiyajin race by wiping out their homeworld. Bardock is told to go recruit those on planet Vegeta and carry out a rebellion. With his friends now dead, Bardock removes Toma's armband and uses it to clean the blood off his face, dyeing it red. And I'm of a mixed opinion on this sequence. The truth is, Bardock's team is almost entirely superfluous. None of them have any real personality beyond Toma, who's really just there to act as an information dispenser. There's no real reason to care about any of them other than they're supposed to be Bardock's friends. They're pretty much just dead before they have any chance to do anything. But, before you decide to come after me with pitchforks and torches, holy crap, this scene is so well done! When Toma dies, Bardock doesn't even say anything. All that's there is the dramatic music as he grips the blood-soaked cloth and looks upon the corpses of his friends. These moments are some of what makes certain sequences in the Dragon Ball anime so much more powerful without ever needing to say a word. The silence is finally broken when his scouter pings the group of elites sans Dodoria. The iconic moment of Bardock tying the bloody wrap around his forehead plays out, and a really great fight breaks out, along with the awesome themed Solid State Scouter. And, unsurprisingly, Bardock proves just how amazingly badass he is here. He proceeds to kick the crap out of the elites, showing not only strength but intelligence as well. He uses his skills to get the drop on them, one by one, even tricking them into killing each other. They realize it doesn't matter if he's a low-class warrior. He's still a Saiyajin. Also, did I mention Solid State Scouter is awesome? 'Cause it's awesome! Bardock's attacks are suddenly interrupted by another psychic vision of his son, this time using the Kaioken against Nappa and fighting Vegeta, forcing him to take a slight beating. He breaks out of a grab using his assailant's back as a shield before blasting his remaining opponents into ashes. Unfortunately, Dodoria is still around and blows up the area, leaving a wounded Bardock under the corpses of his comrades. Dodoria is ordered back and leaves, believing he has killed the last one. Of course, our murderous protagonist is still very much alive, albeit badly wounded. We cut to Kakarotto napping in a space pod as he's about to be sent to Earth. And this is another gripe I have with the TV special. He's already being sent to Earth, yet when Raditz arrives on Earth many years later, he mentions that there's no way his brother could have forgotten his mission, or him. But Raditz never meets his brother here. and a literally newborn infant isn't going to have any sort of developed mental capacity to remember a mission to wipe out the planet. Yes, I'm aware the dialogue implied that Goku wasn't very old when he was sent to Earth, and Toriyama's retcons have shed light on the situation, but this plot point has bothered me ever since I was a kid. The scene jumps to Frieza's ship, where Dodoria reports that he has returned, to an extremely silent Emperor. Zarbon tells him that he failed his mission, one of the Saiyajin survived the encounter on planet Meat, and he's returning to Vegeta.
Wait, my son, the planet or me?
By the way, I love Dodoria's eye movement here. I don't know why, but it cracks me up every time. Dodoria prepares to go stop Bardock before he can make it back to the planet, but Frieza has decided to wipe them all out anyway, forgiving him for the mistake since Bardock will die regardless. On his way back to planet Vegeta, Bardock passes his son's ship in space, which again doesn't really do anything for the plot, but it does lead to this cool shot. He finally lands back on the planet where he's told his son has been sent to some backwater planet called Earth, which somehow triggers another of Bardock's visions, despite them never actually mentioning Earth when he saw the future. Go figure. Bardock finally realizes his visions of the Saiyajin homeworld being obliterated are real. It took him how many times to figure this out? And he runs off as the two soldiers who met up with him on the landing pod wonder what could have made him bleed all over his pod like that. And despite running into the building just a moment before, he's now barely able to walk, propping himself up on the wall before falling down the stairs. Don't fall down the stairs, man. That's how you wind up becoming Yamcha. He passes out from his wounds and once again has repeating visions. He freaks out a little, bleeds all over the floor, stands back up, lets out a mighty roar, and goes right back to hobbling down the hallway as he swears to stop Frieza himself if he has to. And then he passes out on the bar. Come on, you haven't even had anything to drink yet. He attempts to rally the others into killing Frieza, stating that Toma and the others were killed, without actually mentioning how they were ambushed by Frieza's elites, including Dodoria for some dumb reason, and claims that Frieza is on his way to wipe out the planet. They laugh him out of the bar as he calls them miserable jackasses, and tells them they can all go to hell. Really, you'd think at least one of them would look at his wounds and then maybe put 2 + 2 together, but maybe they're just not good at math. And, oh, hey, he's able to run again. How about that? He stops to catch his breath and finds himself on Namek. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't like this part. If they had to give him psychic visions, this is how they all should have been, instead of having it spelled out for him multiple times and him still acting like a clueless Nimrod. He catches a brief glimpse of his son, grown into the man he'll eventually become to face Frieza, and is again distracted by a vision of the world around him being destroyed. This vision is so well done, and feels just cryptic enough to make it feel like they were hinting at his fate without it being outright obvious, and if they had all been done like this, it would have added a lot to the story. He wakes back up in reality, with some reused animation, and makes it to the top of the building where he spots Frieza's ship fast approaching. Resolving to prevent the destruction of his world, he goes to fight Frieza himself, flying into the atmosphere. At least I think that's what's going on, since we already know Saiyajin can't breathe in space. No, that doesn't count! Once again, we get the amazing tune of Solid State Scouter playing as Frieza's minions come pouring out of the ship to stop Bardock, leading to another fantastic fight as he clobbers the mooks in droves. But it does bring one slight hiccup. If Frieza's planning on blowing up the planet anyway, why did he release his mooks to stop one low-ranked soldier? I mean, he's gonna nuke the whole world anyway, so it just seems like he wanted to slaughter his men for funsies, too. In a moment of unintentional humor, Frieza himself seems to come to this conclusion, as he intends on going outside, telling Zarbon to open the outer hatch, while witnessing Bardock steamrolling his men. When Zarbon mentions that their men are out there, Frieza says nothing and just uncrosses his arms, causing Zarbon to flee in terror to carry out his orders. Also, Frieza is really pissed off now for some reason. Is it because he didn't want the Saiyajin to know he was blowing up their planet? Is he pissed off because one little monkey is standing against him? Is it just a bad day? It does somewhat contradict his earlier mood where he seemed rather amused. Still, the fight with Bardock slaughtering Frieza's men left and right, screaming for him to come out and fight is so much damn fun. Frieza finally comes out and Bardock gives a speech about changing the planet's future, along with his son's, and Frieza's fate. He attempts to blow Frieza away, and Unsurprisingly, it does nothing, as the blast is consumed by Frieza's own attack. Frieza laughs as it casually tosses his massive move at the planet with a flick of a finger, with his minions screaming in terror as it approaches them and the planet. As Bardock himself is engulfed in the blast, with it incinerating him slowly, he calls out to his son and foresees the inevitable showdown between him and Frieza. He grins, knowing though this is the end of his planet and his own life, his son will carry out his vengeance and one day defeat Frieza. And with that, the planet Vegeta ceases to exist. A brief cut is made to the young prince of the planet, as he's told by Nappa his world and people have been erased from the face of the universe. Nappa has been told the planet collided with a meteor, and Vegeta's reaction is a resounding, meh. The camera pulls out to reveal a whole lot of corpses, which is yet another really cool shot. Elsewhere, on some shithole of a planet in the middle of nowhere, some infant without pants continues to cry because that's basically all he does during this special. He's eventually found by an old human who notes the boy has a strange tale. Side note, love the infant's expression here. That's just such a funny look. We eventually learned the old man's name is Son Gohan. No, not that one. No, not that one either. He's a badass though. There we go. He adopts the baby, naming him Son Goku. And as the TV special itself announces, the curtain raises for the grand tale that is Dragon Ball. We are treated to a montage credit sequence of Goku's adventures as a wonderful Kageyama Hironobu song, Hikari no Tabi, plays out, accompanied by Kuko, and a nice end picture of Goku standing in front of the fallen Saiyajin race facing off against Frieza. And to be honest, I don't think the TV special holds up quite as well as everybody thinks it does. And before you get that mob to hunt me down again, hear me out. I'm not saying it's a bad feature. It's still an enjoyable watch with some really great moments. But even I'm surprised at how many problems it has when I try to look at it through a more critical eye. There's a lot of issues that I noticed rewatching it. Bardock's team is basically pointless, with only Toma having any real role or personality, and even he basically exists to spout exposition before dying. The rest of the team have maybe one line, and then die without doing anything whatsoever. We never learn anything about them, so when they die, it's not all that shocking beyond Bardock's reaction. You could cut out almost everyone besides Toma, and nothing would change. The Connassans having psychic powers could have been interesting, especially with how well done those last couple visions are, but them giving Bardock precognitive abilities does absolutely nothing for the story. He basically plays the role of a dumbass even when outright shown and told what's going to happen, until he finally realizes that what he's seeing is real after he lands on planet Vegeta, even though Toma already spelled it out for him and he had himself been ambushed by Dodoria. Frieza seems to switch moods based on the scene, swapping between amused and annoyed, and him ordering the destruction of Bardock's team, and eventually their entire race, pretty much comes out of nowhere. It also kind of makes Goku feel like he's destined to fight Frieza someday, rather than it simply being the result of a chain of events. And as I pointed out before, the lack of Raditz, and Goku being a literal newborn baby, throws a monkey into the gears. Not a monkey wrench, they threw the whole damn monkey in there. To be honest, I myself am shocked. I thought this was going to be a much more positive review, but I noticed so many more gripes than I previously realized. I don't think I can truly say this lives up to its hype. That being said, I do still recommend viewing it. As a standalone story, even with it having a lot of fluff, it's fairly well paced, and looks good visually with some excellent character designs and good animation. And as long as you stick to the Japanese version, you get an amazing soundtrack and voice acting. It also doesn't hurt that Bardock himself is a compelling, cool character with a ton of badass moments. And hot damn, the fight scenes are so freaking good and well worth watching the special for. So yes, I think it's not as good as people claim it to be, but I think it's still very much worth watching. But because I haven't pissed off enough of you yet, there's another review coming soon related to this story. No, not that one. I can safely say skip that one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Agree? Disagree? Okay, who am I kidding? None of you are gonna agree with me. I'm going to hell for this one for sure. But if for some reason you aren't typing an undoubtedly angry response, then why not check out one of my other Dragon Ball reviews? Or maybe check out that old half-assed playthrough of Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit.